All right, and we're live and we're back. Hello, Charles 2024. I have two new guests, and your names are
John Cullicott
and Ken Gates.
all right,
Texas Rowing
and
Center.
Texas Rowing Center. So I'm a little partial because I'm also a TRC rower as well, and a huge mega fan of the Texas women's rowing team. So what has you here, Heather Charles, this year? What are you racing?
We're racing Directors Challenge Cup for the men's quads.
All right. Now, did you win it last year?
We didn't do it
TRC
last year.
didn't enter it last year.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
TRC has entered the previous number of years and has always done very well. Top 5 finishes.
Okay.
No wins yet.
Okay, so we're gonna want to change that, make it a win tomorrow.
Yes, we
Yeah.
would.
Well, you stand a very strong chance. So, I have two very strong pedigreed rowers with me right now. Ken, I want you to list some of your accomplishments because when it comes to crash beads, you're the standard. So,
Well, I came to rowing kind of late. I started
Okay.
at 29, and by the time I got to be 55, I was more competitive. So I started going to crash bees at 50 years old. At 55, I won for the first time, and I haven't lost since. So I've got 9 hammers.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Now, if memory serves me right, I remember we were at the YMCA one day, and you said there was some world record that you wanted to go after. You said it's been on the book so long they didn't even have a date on it.
There was a it was a very old record. It was for the 1K.
Okay.
And a 60-year-old had never gone under 3 minutes for a 1K on the earth. And at 56, I was going, that's a piece of cake. I'm going to slaughter it. I'm going to do a 255. And each year I got older, I got closer and closer. You know, at 57, I was at 257. And at 58, I was at 258. And then it came time to do it when I was 60. And I missed it the first time, and I got it the second time.
All
So I was the first 60-year-old to get under 3 minutes for a 1K.
Lord, that is amazing.
Yeah.
That's phenomenal. Wow.
It hurt a lot.
But you will forever have that record. So, John, tell us about your rowing story, some of your background.
Yeah, well, so it's kind of a very different story from Ken's. I started rowing at age 13.
Okay.
As a freshman in high school, I was very fortunate. The public high school that I went to in the Washington, D.C. area.
Okay.
And walked onto that as we all did back in the day, and literally from the first practice, just absolutely loved it. It was the kind of rowing practice that everyone thinks about when they think of rowing. It's a terrible time of day. It's cold. It's raining. It's windy. You know, it's when you had wooden oars and wooden gunnels on the boats, and when it tips, you crack your knuckles open, bleeding everywhere. And I thought, man, this is for me.
And you loved it? Wow. So, what are some of your successes that you've had since starting in rowing?
Well, you know, having started that early was great for me to give that kind of perspective on not having to be fast right away. A lot of people start rowing in college, and immediately it's this huge competition. In high school, it was just more participation. We were a relatively competitive team, but we had a lot of boats because we were a very big team, so everyone kind of got to row, which was a good thing for me because I was 5'2" and 105 pounds when I started rowing.
Wow.
And, so I knew I wanted to row in college, but I also knew I wanted to row after college. Ended up going to a university that was had a very new rowing program. It was only 4 years old when I got there, so a lot of building still to do in the program. And then when I got out of school, I rowed full time for another 10 years.
Oh, wow.
So collegiate program because it was very new, not a lot of powerful rowing success stories, but wonderful opportunities to come out. We did race here at the Charles back in the 80s.
Okay.
Which was wonderful for a team like that. And then when I graduated from college, I came here to Boston and rode at Riverside.
Okay.
I was in Likely at the time.
Oh, wow.
And participated in all the big camps and kind of participated through that national team program for the next 10 years or so.
Nice.
To heavyweight, from sweep to sculling.
Okay.
Did a lot of different things. Had a wonderful career. Really enjoyed it. I wish I was still racing and training at that level, but now I got Ken to push me on the earth. So
Oh, yes. So,
he's a rabbit.
let me ask you this, Ken. What made you want to start rowing?
People would come up to me and say, "You look like this guy that rode at my college," and I figured there must be a type, and so I figured I'd try it.
Okay. So now, are you from Texas?
No, I grew up in Colorado Springs, so I grew up at elevation.
Okay, so did you start rowing in Colorado first before you came to Texas, or was it once you
Yeah,
were
I
in
started
Texas?
rowing in Texas at
Okay.
Austin Rowing Club, which was kind of
Okay.
the only choice at the time.
Yeah, down the river. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's the kind of the rival club now.
that's right.
Um, so let me ask you this. The three biggest competitions you've ever raced in. Same for you.
I want to hear yours first. That's a big. Mine are follow-on answers to this.
Well, I guess you got to go with the Olympic trials.
All right.
That's the biggest competition.
Okay.
The most important, I guess.
What boat class?
So I raced in '96 in a quad.
All right.
And back then it was an open trials. One of the things I love about rowing is there's although there's some politics at the boathouse level, which sometimes people love or hate depending on
Yes.
the politics. But the racing is as democratic as it gets. You're a U.S. citizen, you can enter trials. First boat across the line goes. Absolutely loved it. So we put a quad together to race in '96, and then in 2000 I raced in the double for trials. So. In '96 we were third. In 2000 we were fourth. Again, great performances. Just not quite fast enough. And to send the best for America, you got to have people that are fast that aren't going as well. So,
That's true. That's right.
So trials would be obviously. I mean, it doesn't get bigger than Charles, right? I mean, how awesome is Charles? And then I don't know. I'd say interestingly, most prestigious or best. There's so many great venues around the country. I've had such an amazing opportunity to race in them. There was the Olympic Sports Festival in 1995.
I remember that. Yes.
So we were racing at altitude.
It's hard.
On a course that was about 30 meters more water than the boom line. And so you're get it down at the end, but you've got these 14,000-foot peaks around you. It's absolutely amazing. Great courses on the West Coast. So there's I love going to new places, experiencing the courses, and frankly, the rowing community is just so amazing, right? Everyone's just so inviting and welcoming. Wherever a regatta is, everyone just loves the fact that there's a regatta.
That's right. How about you, Ken?
I think our first win in the quad. We had gone to Augusta, Georgia, in 1993.
Okay.
And we'd only rowed together for 3 months, and we finished second in the A category. And we thought, let's try harder at this. And we got the guy who had coached the women's silver medal pair at the prior Olympics, and he worked with us for a year. And we went back to Minneapolis the next year and won in like 3:10. It was just a really fast boat, and it was Pat McDonough and Jason Savage, and in that boat was Steven Seiler, who was finishing his doctorate in exercise physiology, and now he's known worldwide. He moved to Norway, and he's become this famous guy. He's the father of bipolar training. Wow. And we didn't know at the time, but he was a good athlete.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So, what would say, how has rowing run lateral with your life? We always say with Ready Row USA that rowing imitates life. So, how could you tie in rowing with your life?
No, I think it's an absolute wonderful reflection of life. I think it is a great sport where you advance technically, you advance physiologically, you put the work in, you get better. I think it's a great life lesson. And I was very fortunate as a young person, I'm 13, I'm still developing, figuring out who I am, what the world is, and to have a sport like this that was so black and white, so easy. If you eat right, you sleep right, you put the time in on your times get better. It's amazing, right?
That's right.
It doesn't matter where you start, it doesn't matter where you end. It's just the point is you're constantly improving, you're constantly getting better.
That's right.
That to me is a great example of what rowing how it can reflect life, and what a great lesson.
Indeed. How about for you?
Oh, I would say it's about learning. You can do things the hard way and suffer a lot, or you can learn to do things the right way. And I'm a slow learner, so I spent 30 years learning how to do it the hard way, and now I've kind of figured out there's a way to move a boat that isn't quite as painful. The lights came on one day. I went, wait a minute, you guys are using your legs. That hurts a lot less. So that was an important life lesson.
All right. So, if you were not in the sport of rowing, but you were still competing, what would it be in?
Oh, I could answer the question for you. You would be on a bike. I think so. What is the answer?
Really?
Yeah, I started when I was a kid as a swimmer, so I love swimming. I did triathlon for a while after I retired from elite competition. I enjoyed that. I am horrible at ball sports. I mean, someone took me out on a pickleball court a couple of months ago. Just that's it. What a mess I was. So, definitely wouldn't be something like that. But yeah, I can definitely see myself cycling.
Okay.
It'd be a waste of those quads if you weren't on a bicycle. That man's got huge legs.
How about you?
You know, I can't think of another sport I would be competitive at. The thing about rowing, it is the thing where I had aerobic capacity and I had strength. Where else do you use that? Because as a big guy, if you want to try to run distance, you're carrying a lot of weight around, and that just wasn't my thing. And there was less of a penalty in sports for being too big.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. That's funny. I know for me, I came from track, but if it wasn't track, it would be tennis.
Really?
Yes. Love tennis. Love it. Now, swimming, I like to watch it. Horrible at swimming. Just horrible.
You don't float.
Ooh, I swim like a rock.
Yeah.
It's something doesn't work right with my legs, and I hang like that for some reason. But yeah, it's horrible. For you, since you all are still rowing at such a high level, at the master's level, what does your normal week of training look like? When you're not together in the boats or separate, but just in totality for a week, what would your week look like?
So my week looks the same every week, unless there's interference by weather or something else.
Okay.
And so as I get older, I worry a little bit about AFib. Because it is a real problem in the rowing community. It's a problem in the cross-country skiing community. And so I try not to put two real intense heart rate workouts back to back.
Okay.
And so I row, 3 times a week, space those out. Then typically I'll weightlift 1 day a week. I'll swim 1 day a week. I'll do yoga 1 day a week. And then the 4th workout has ended up being on the erg. It was hill running, but we've got a group that gets together, and it's a lot nicer to erg together.
Yeah,
So.
I think Steve Henry texted me. We were texting. He said, "Yeah, I'm on my way to Ken's house now to erg."
Steve's an animal.
Steve Henry, yeah. How about for you? What is your normal week of training?
Just like Ken, I have a very specific schedule that I follow every single week. Ken's a little more diversified than I am in terms of different activities.
Okay.
No, I'm on the erg. Or in a boat, 6 days a week.
Okay.
There's always a lift, usually 1 day a week, just to try to slow the decline as much as I possibly can. So.
And it's interesting that you mentioned that about AFib. Recently, there was a teammate who lost a teammate in the boat. They were racing, and he had a cardiac event right there in the boat. It's interesting that you mentioned that because we had an elite rower from Cuba, Anya Fournier, who passed away. He's 35.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah, he was silver medalist at World Championships in the single, and Olympic finalist, I should say, with multiple World Championship medalists. And it's funny that you mentioned that. Any advice for those who are listening, who say, "Hey, I need to think about that"? Anything that you might want to mention or give a tidbit of advice regarding that?
In terms of a cardiac event?
Well, just in general, just like you were saying and mentioning about training to not have multiple high rating or high intensity.
No, I think about this a lot. What the joke I make about how people say, how do you succeed as a masters rower? Don't get sick and don't die. That's the way. And so, but there's some truth behind that. And so you train smarter. You train for maybe resilience rather than maximum performance. So I've switched from weightlifting to doing stretchy bands because the risk of getting injured is so much less with those. And I still feel like I'm getting the same amount of work. And then I do those other things. So I have days off that I'm not pushing myself physically to the edge where injury might occur. So don't get hurt and don't die.
Yeah. I'm taking notes for myself as well because I like to do a lot of longer steady state work. Would that be a good thing to do rather than trying to just go so hard? I don't really like doing hard, intense things a lot. I like the more long, drawn out. Plus, I like the endorphins.
Well, almost everybody migrates to a longer distance as they age. And the reason for that is the way your body changes. But I think you have to push back against that a little bit because your natural tendency is to atrophy as you age. It's really tough to maintain your muscle mass, and so I recommend that you do that because it's primarily for injury prevention. If you surround stuff with enough muscle, it's less likely to tear loose or tear off.
Love it. I like that. Yeah, that's wonderful. How about you, John?
Well, no, I mean, all the things that are just kind of conventional wisdom that I think are practice conventionalism, the more warm up, the older you get. When you're going to do your hard pieces, or whether it's stretchy bands or lifting, making sure that you're fully warmed up. Obviously, rest and nutrition are
Absolutely.
paramount. There's a lot of theories about the nutrition side, and you can dive into whatever side you want to. But just like Ken, I don't do back-to-back hard days. Out of the 6 days that I'm rowing or erging, I'll have 3 hard workouts, light workouts. So yeah, you don't over to catch rest, recover, and just be an athlete, not a jump. You know, you don't have to tough it out. If something's going on in a practice and you start to go, this isn't right, it's okay. We're not training for Olympic trials anymore, right? So it's just something that this is a lot of fun. And what becomes more and more fun is that you can continue to do this longer and longer. It's not all about what am I doing next month, or it's smart.
This guy's being so modest. He just did a 30-minute piece and held a 145 pace for all but the last minute of a 30-minute piece. It's nuts. He's an incredible athlete.
Straight through nonstop.
145 for 30 minutes.
Really? That's impressive.
That is impressive.
That is very impressive. You have college kids who can't do that.
Right.
Wow. That's amazing. Oh, hey, right on. So, Charles is here. Season's almost done. What are your plans on the horizon for the 2025 season? You're doing 145s for 30 minutes. There's something you have planned for next year.
Well, my first plan is to lose the Napoleon million meters challenge. Because that's what I do every year is I lose the Napoleon million meters challenge. So I'm going to do that first.
For the listeners who don't really understand what that means, so the Texas Learning Center during the holiday time to keep people motivated kind of through that December month before we start the next year. There's a million meters challenge and it starts how many? But 10 weeks or 11 weeks.
11 weeks.
12 weeks now.
12 weeks. Okay.
And everyone sends in every week their meters. And the first year they did this, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 years ago, something like that.
It was about 6 years ago.
Okay. And by about week 3, the event
It's
was
over. It's over.
We're all thinking, who's this Napoleon guy? And I don't know, what do you do? 2.5, 3 million meters in 12 weeks?
In 12 weeks, well, the first year I did 3.1.
There you go.
And then the next year I pulled back some because I felt really burned out. But then when COVID hit, I had nothing to do. So I decided I'm going to send this thing through the moon. And I did 5 million.
Wow.
It was ridiculous. I was doing 80K a day sometimes. It hurt.
Wow.
And I started thinking about, why am I doing this much? This is crazy. And so I pulled it back to the point now that it's around 2.5, maybe 3 million. And that's sufficient.
For first, second, third place. And it became very, very apparent very quickly that if Napoleon was still in Texas, he was winning the challenge. It became the Napoleon million meter challenge.
Yeah.
And now the competition is for second place.
But to answer your question seriously, he turns 55 this year. I turn 65 this year.
Oh, wow.
So it's a whole new shot at the erg records.
That's right.
And there's 3 or 4 that are hard but are within reach. The record for a 1K is 305 and change.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Well, maybe. We'll see. And then the
Could be a
2K
lot.
record, 633. The
Okay.
4-minute record's a 137.5 pace. So they're all kind of within range if you really want to suffer. So
Yeah.
maybe. And then John's been destroying everything on the dynamic.
Oh, yeah, you're doing it. Oh, yeah, I like the dynamic. Yeah. Yeah. It's funny that you mentioned all those meters because doing all those meters, I ended up becoming named one of the ambassadors for Concept 2.
Oh, I bet.
So they sent me a erg and some other things. So I love that. So when you do crash Bs, they're using Concept 2s,
Yeah,
correct?
right.
Yeah. And are you doing the dynamic? Is it on a Concept 2 dynamic?
it's a Concept 2 dynamic.
That's what I thought. Okay. That's a hard one. That's a little bit more with catch timing too. And just
Well, I think it's really great a simulator for rowing.
Yeah.
It makes you think a little bit more about the stroke. It's not just as much, connect the catch and then heave all the way back.
That's
There's
right.
some fluidity to get.
I love that. That's amazing.
And I
So-
don't know, maybe we can get another group together. You may remember about 5 years ago, we got a bunch of people over 50
Oh,
together.
yeah.
We're not doing that
Did
again.
that-
We're never doing that again. We are never,
It was
never.
a 24-hour.
We're never doing that again.
Was it a 24-hour row or erg a thon?
Team that we got all from the Texas Rowing Center.
Yes.
It was one of the great experiences in rowing for me. We got 10 guys who were stupid enough to want to do this. And I remember about 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the morning, I can't remember who it was. Someone woke up from a little, 10-minute micro nap, and he said, I keep having the same recurring nightmare. I have to wake up and do a 3-minute erg piece over and over and over again.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that was awful.
So maybe we'll line something up like that.
Hey, that's amazing. I want to ask you this. If you could go back in time and speak to your 21-year-old self, what would you say to 21-year-old Ken and 21-year-old John?
Oh, that's easy. I would say learn to row first and don't pull a hard stroke for like the first year, right? Because I got on there, I'm banging away, and I was banging away in the boat, and it took years to figure out I was working too hard. And I would say don't take a hard stroke till you get the muscle memory written correctly. And then once the muscle memory is written correctly, then apply some pressure. But I think the biggest mistake, especially young rowers, like college rowers, jump in a boat and they start yanking on that oar as hard as they can. And then you write really bad habits into your muscle memory. You're just stuck with them. Right.
I think at 21, at that point, I kind of established, my viewpoint of rowing and life in the world. And I would say to that younger version of myself, stick with it. It's all wonderful. It's all awesome. You can have ups and downs, like everybody does, but persevere.
That's right.
It's worth it on the other side.
Lovely. Because I've been coaching the UT crew, the men and the women, and they're racing here, and I really, really adore them. And those athletes give their all. But I love to hear this advice because this is something that I could pass on to them. Because, if they hear it from me, okay, yeah, that's good, coach. But if they hear it from someone else, and I'm telling some of these guys, hey, you're not running faster than him. No, you might want to listen to what they're saying. I really, really love that a lot.
People like that is trust the process.
Absolutely.
It is, nobody's ever gone from novice to Olympian in a week, right?
That's right.
It is a process, and there is a definitive payoff for the hard work and sticking it out and doing the same thing week after week. And I'm sure for all the people you're interviewing, you're doing the same thing.
Yes, you do.
It is a process, and you put the work in to get the results.
That's right.
Don't be impatient. Let it come. It's going to come.
Now, switching gears a little bit. What's a fun fact, something quirky about you that most people wouldn't know?
I'm pretty transparent. I don't have any skeletons. I just am what I am.
Okay. So, there's got to be something. Like, for example, I am a huge Alfred Hitchcock addict.
Really?
And I love the Twilight Zone. Yeah.
Wow.
I'm addicted to those older shows.
Yeah.
I just love it because they're brand new to me. So, they're reruns. I can't get enough of them. I can watch them over and over again. So that's one of my kind of weird things that I like.
Just that people like us dedicate so much time to a sport that most people don't understand anything about.
Yeah.
And when you love it the way we do, and you do it, to the level that we're committing time and energy and everything to, you don't have a lot of time for other quick stuff.
It's true. This is true. I'm finding myself I'm eating while I'm watching those shows, and it is time to go to bed.
Right.
Because I always pick and say I'm an old man because I'm in bed by 8:30. Yeah, I go to bed. I want my sleep. I've just always been that way. But I just really appreciate you all coming in today, taking the time to meet with me and talk about rowing, what we all love so much. And I'm wishing you the absolute very best tomorrow in your race for the Director's Challenge. I'll actually see you out on the water because I'm racing in the Director's Challenge in the 8. So I'm not sure what time you all are going. So we might overlap. So I might see you as I'm coming down, as you're going down. As I'm going up, as you're going down, I should say. So I can give a shout and a yell. Yeah, absolutely. So I just really appreciate you coming out. And thank you again. Yes.
And it's the start of the Napoleon million-meter challenge.
Oh, God, not yet. So I'm debating whether or not I'm going to do it this year.
Oh, no.
I really am. I've been saying that for about 3 years now. And every year I get pulled into it. I don't know. I like the meters. I like the endorphins. But I want to do 200 plus or 200K a week. I don't know. We'll see.
Well, good luck.
Yeah, I'm thinking about maybe I should give my body a break because this will be the 7th year doing that.
Wow.
So I think And like, okay, 6 years, nice, but that's enough. So yeah. Well, all right. Thank you again, and you have a great rest of the regatta. Thank
Thanks,
you for
Mr.
coming
All right,
out.
see
All
you,
right,
Napoleon.
take care.
All right.
Bye bye. Oh, I can see you through my peripheral vision. I miss nothing.
Thanks. That was fun.
Thank you. Thank you so much. You gotta kill Abdul over here. Over here. Making sound.
Thanks.